And welcome to Legal Matters. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and with me is Attorney Michael Crosby of the Crosby Law Firm. Legal Matters is an informational and news call-in show devoted to legal topics of interest to Stateline viewers. We have attorneys who are standing by right now to take your call at the number on your screen. That's 815-397-2006. We'll be able to provide you with free information on any legal issue, so call now and do so throughout the next hour. In our opening statement, we will be discussing paternity issues and grandparents' rights and what happens to those couples who are unmarried and find themselves in legal problems. In the second segment, we'll continue our popular You Want to Know question and answer segment devoted to questions posed by you, the viewer, by way of telephone calls, emails, text, and tweets that we have received. But before we get started, let me remind you of the practice areas of the Crosby Law Firm. The Crosby Law Firm has a Center for Divorce and Family Law, an Auto Accident Injury and Social Security Disability Department, a Bankruptcy Institute, an Office for DUI, Traffic and Criminal Defense, an Advanced Care Plan and Probate Center, a Division for Real Estate and Business Matters, and a Department for Immigration and Naturalization Services. So please feel free to call and discuss any of these practice areas with the attorneys who are standing by. The number on your screen again, 815-397-2006. Okay, Mike, our first segment is devoted to paternity cases. Now, we all know that there are couples who live together outside of marriage. They may have children. They may acquire assets. Unfortunately, many times these couples will break up. There has to be legal ramifications to all this. What kind of ramifications are there, and what can the Crosby Law Firm do to help them out?
Good question, Alan. There's even a song out there, breaking up is hard to do. And there's no question when there's an adult couple and they break up, it's a very difficult circumstance. We all know there's a good Lord out there, and He wants people to have abundant, good, productive relationships. There's also a devil out there, and sometimes that devil can incite breakups and difficult relationships. Very hard area. In our office, if we're focused on a couple breaking up that don't have children, we're going to look to see if there's assets or debts that the couple has acquired together that need to be divided up. There's still other relationships where perhaps they're living together, there are no assets or debts, there are no children, but the emotional dynamics of breaking up are so difficult that in some cases violence, domestic abuse can ensue. And so we're called upon to secure orders of protection for some of our clients. So this is an area that we do a lot of work in, along with divorce and other family law areas, adoption, etc. So I'd encourage any of the viewers out there who are going through a difficult breakup, who may have acquired some assets or debts, or who may be struggling with domestic abuse, to give us a call. We do a lot of this work, and there's some things we can do to help out.
Okay, and then taking that a step further, you're dealing with couples who do have children. That adds a whole different dynamic to it. You're dealing with possibly grandparents' rights. You're dealing with individual rights in terms of custody, possibly things along that line, determining paternity. How do you walk through that?
Alan, the short version of what you're talking about is commonly referred to as a paternity case. These are very, very serious issues involving human beings. In discussing this practice area, I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. So let's take a moment and share with our viewers an image that I share with all of our moms and dads and grandparents that we represent in connection with paternity cases. The pyramid image that we're viewing right now illustrates the 4 major components of a paternity case. The foundation of a paternity case, and thus the bottom of the pyramid, is establishing who the father of the child is. Once we've identified the father, we then proceed with the other 3 issues of a paternity case, which are illustrated in the pyramid: custody of the child, the visitation rights of the non-custodial parent, and the child support payments for that particular child.
Okay, let's take a look at the 4 individual parts, and we'll start with the foundation, as you put it, and that's paternity of the child.
Sure. You can't get to the other issues until you establish who the father is. That's typically done by the dad in open court admitting that he's the father, his testimony, or if he's not quite certain if he's the dad, then there's a DNA test, scientific evidence that will prove whether he's the father or not. Once we've laid the foundation in the case, established that he's the dad, then we move on to the other 3 layers of the pyramid that I discussed earlier. That would be who's going to get custody of the child, what are the visitation rights of the parent that is not the custodial parent, and then of course child support. grandparent rights derive from whoever has been established as the dad and, of course, whoever's the mother. So in these kinds of cases where folks break up and grandparents are worried about seeing their grandchildren, grandparents out there need to understand that their rights primarily derive from their son or daughter. So paternity case establishes fatherhood. Once that's been established, we move on to custody, visitation, and child support. If dad is not the dad, if the person accused of being the father is not the father, then we don't get to the rest of the case. We've not laid the foundation establishing who the father is. Critical component in this whole process.
Okay, and that takes some time, and it takes some in-depth conversation that we don't have, unfortunately, don't have the time to go through all of it right here.
Just hope that I've given the folks out there a brief understanding, a brief outline of the whole project, the whole process.
And it's very important to know that. Thank you very much, Michael.
You bet.
The number to call for your information to get your question answered is 815-397-2006. Stay tuned for our rapid fire You Want to Know question and answer segment coming up after the break. And welcome back, everyone. Now, in response to the enormous support, thousands of telephone calls, and positive feedback from you, the viewer, in connection with the Legal Matters program, we are continuing our rapid-fire question and answer segment called You Want to Know. Now, in an effort to protect viewer confidentiality, please understand we only use first names. We may even alter the location of the viewer and the nature of the question somewhat. So we'll start with question number one for you, Michael. This first question is from John in Rockford. He wants to know how he can ensure the best possible legal representation in the state line community.
Well, John, I'm not sure what your issue is, but I think the first thing that most folks should look for in a competent law firm is a law firm that bleeds for the client, that can relate to them, that can empathize. A law firm that knows the community. The Crosby Law Firm was established over 35 years ago. This is my hometown, local roots, lasting strength. We have combined over 100 years of experience between the 8 lawyers in our office. We do a broad breadth of representation across a lot of areas of law. So, John, I'd say to you, give us a call. We'll be happy to sit with you, review what your issue is. I think we can go the extra mile for you and assist you, and I'd encourage you to give us a call.
Okay, and that number, as a reminder, is 815-397-2006, so please call now.
And I might add to John out there, one of the important things in our office, at least, we do provide a free initial consultation, and most of the work that we take, assuming it's not connected to personal injury work, we work on a flat fee. With personal injury work, we only get paid if there's a recovery for the client. Further, it's important for John to understand that in many of our cases, we'll take a look at structuring a payment plan if he's not able to remit or pay for the entire flat fee up front. That makes our office, I believe, very client-friendly, very consumer-friendly. That's the kind of work that we do in the Rockford area.
Okay. Well, thanks for that clarification.
You bet.
Next question is from Schaumburg. Adam from Schaumburg. I'm thinking of filing for bankruptcy. How soon can you get these debt collectors off my back if I hire you?
Adam, we do a lot of bankruptcy work in our community. Some of the good news economically, the unemployment rate is down in our community, jobs are turning around, and that's all good. But there's still a lot of leftover issues from the 2008 recession. Folks going through foreclosure, medical debt, outlandish credit card debt, so forth and so on. So debt relief is a very big part of our law practice. We represent a host of people in Chapter 7 bankruptcies, Chapter 13 bankruptcies. What I would suggest to the viewers out there, if you've got these debt issues and you're not able to overcome them on your own, please contact us for that free consultation. We'll be able to analyze and diagnose your issues and sort out what we think is the best remedy for you, a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, Chapter 13 bankruptcy, or perhaps something short, Alan, of a bankruptcy that we commonly refer to as a voluntary workout, where we try to negotiate a reduction in the party's debts. We do that as well.
Okay. Next question. This is from Mark in Belvedere. What sort of help can you offer someone who is already incarcerated?
There is help. If the incarceration is in the county jail and you've just recently been arrested and your case has not gone to trial yet, you have the absolute right to retain counsel to represent you, making sure that you are Mirandized, given your rights before there's any kind of conversation with a police officer or prosecutor, etc. So we've got a case very recently that came through Legal Matters where there was a fellow arrested in county jail who contacted us through the show. We accepted representation of him, are defending him in that matter. So there's a lot of folks arrested in county jail, haven't gone to court yet, haven't had their case disposed of. Those are the individuals that need to give us a call. We'll be happy to step up and assist you.
And that's the important thing to consider before they go to trial.
Absolutely.
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 All right. The next question from Joe from Winnebago County. My parents are both deceased and neither had a will. And so my brothers and I, are we entitled to claim whatever belongings they had at a first come, first served basis?
This question is tied into, in our office, we do a lot of advanced care planning where we prepare the wills, the living wills, the powers of attorney. When somebody passes, there's now an administration of the deceased's estate. Clearly, if the deceased died with a will, the ability to manage the administration of that estate is a bit easier than if the person dies without a will. Unfortunately, in our culture, our society, our community, there's a number of people that do die without a will, thereby not leaving direction to their loved ones. In this case, this gentleman's family, the individual, their father, died without a will. It creates more chaos in wrapping up the father's estate. And it isn't based on a first come, first served basis. There's a statute out there that spells out how things are to be divided if somebody dies without a will. So I'd encourage that gentleman to give our office a call. We'll provide you with a free consultation, walk you through the entire so-called probate process, making sure that your rights and those of your siblings are protected.
Okay, our last question for you, Susan in Rockford. Can you help me write a rent-to-own contract for my house?
This is a real estate question, and we're now in April, and this is the time in our community where most folks are thinking about buying or selling a home. We do a lot of real estate work in our town, representing lots of buyers and sellers. So Susan, you've got an issue here where you're thinking about acquiring some property, maybe with a rent to option to buy. Please give us a call. We'll be happy to help you.
Thank you, Michael, for that. And don't forget, lawyers are standing by for another half hour after the show airs. That number to call, 815-397-2006. That's all the time we have for the Crosby Law Firm. Legal Matters continues with Mark Brennison and the American Law Firm after a break.